I know this is our first time talking, so I wanted to take a minute, just a little minute, to give you a little overview of who Desire J is, what I'm about, where I come from, all of that. So I am an alumna of the illustrious presidential Howard University, and I majored in that don't even matter. I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York, upstate New York, central New York, whatever you want to call it, but that's where I'm from, period. If you know, you know. What else about me? I love writing. I love writing poetry. I love storytelling. So you will get a little bit of everything on this channel. And I decided to create this channel because I really wanted to divulge into the topics that we deem relatable. Yet some people may talk and say that they're taboo. And I mean relatable to you, to me, your auntie, your uncle, your mother, your brother, your grandmother, everybody. Somebody that you know is going to relate to what I'm talking about. So, you already know what I'm going to tell you to do. I'm going to tell you to subscribe if you really enjoy my content. Definitely like the video if you like my content. And 100%, I need you to comment. I need you to comment because I want to hear what you guys want me to talk about, what topics that are really on your heart that you feel like people really don't talk about. Because I'll talk about it, 100%. I will talk about it. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the first topic is graduating in a pandemic. We've seen it, we've experienced it, we've lived through it together, and it just... I need therapy. I do. But seriously though, if laugh now, cry later was a person, it would be me. And you want to know why that is? It's because in 2020, I sat on Twitter and I was like, ain't you 20 not gonna have a graduation? Y'all can't walk the stage, y'all better walk the reservoir. And then I was... because we got an email and it was like, no frets, don't fret HU20, you guys can walk the stage with HU21. And I was like,
Hell no. Beat it. Beat it.
And I thought it was so funny because it wasn't me, right? Fast forward, a year later, Howard sent us an email. And they said, HU21, you can come for commencement, but you will not walk the stage. And that's how I read the email because I was devastated. I was devastated, y'all. Like, what do you mean we're not walking the stage? Is there a camera on me? Am I being pranked? Like, what's tea? And it hurt. It hurt me. Check on your friends who graduated in a pandemic because it's not okay. It's not okay. Okay, so going back to being in a pandemic, right? One day, I was a junior in college, right? And I was like, okay, I can do a little semester. But I went from being on Howard's campus to moving back to Syracuse, New York to live in my elementary/high school kid bedroom with my grandmother, to then being called a graduate, to then being called a corporate America employee. I don't see how. I don't understand the timeline. They lost me. Still to this day, navigating adulthood has just been very, very complex. But I want to peel it back a little bit because you're probably wondering, well, why was it even complex? For one, I felt like I was going backwards. And this is very difficult to talk about because everybody doesn't come from the same place when you're in school. Some families are very affluent. You have Jack and Jill. You have a lot of resources, a lot of opportunities, and you have some people that come from some not so good neighborhoods. And I happen to be one of those people. So going back to Syracuse, New York, where I felt like I was getting out the hood, I was finna put on for the city, to coming back, I felt like I just started going backwards, because instead of me feeling like I was an established adult, prim and proper, able to really bring myself back home, I was really just trying to show people that I still belonged and that I was still down. Yeah, like, it's whatever. It's whatever. Like, what's the vibe? Like, what we finna do? Like, and the truth is, a lot of the stuff that I was doing, a lot of the people that I was hanging out with, I had outgrew. And I didn't realize I had outgrown them, but I did. And in the long run, like, now I realized I was so busy trying to get them to re-understand me and re-like me, and I had to show them who I was, because I'm really her, and I had no points to prove. I never had a point to prove. Yet I was still trying to prove one. I was still trying to show them, like, yeah, I'm down. Like, what's up? Like, I'm still from New York. Like, it's really nothing. Like, and that was never necessary. And it felt like I was not growing. I was going backwards, and I was implementing myself right back into the place where I was just desperately trying to get away from. And this is not in regards to people that I'm trying to get away from. This is circumstance, and I want to be very clear about that. I am talking about the circumstance that Syracuse had on me. I love my city to death, but we are a really impoverished city, and that is the lack of resources. That's a lack of opportunity, and it's very difficult when you see the people you know and love, people you've grown up with day to day, getting killed and dying. Like, that summer of 2020, I literally watched my younger cousin die right behind me. Like, right behind me. And I won't go into details or anything like that, but that's what I mean by going backwards. I just knew that I was never going to have to experience another traumatic event like that, where I was going to lose somebody that I known, or even see it that close to me, or damn, like, it'd be close enough to be me. I just didn't think I would have to relive that. And I did. And it was really hard, because a lot of my friends at Howard couldn't understand what I was going through. There wasn't people that I could share that with. So it was just me carrying this burden and only being able to tell other Syracuse people, you know? And like I said, when you're birds of a feather flock together, and if you're with people who are not ready to grow and who aren't pushing you to be better, you're going backwards. So outside of that, it was hard adulting, right? Just in general, because I got a lot of my validation as a person from school, because it was so ingrained in me that if I did good in school, I got good grades, the teacher liked me, I was good, I wasn't getting an ass whooping from my mom when I got home. And that made me feel like I'm a good person, like I'm doing something right. And when I didn't have that anymore, like once I actually graduated and there were no more tests to take, there were no more exams, there were no more projects, I was like, how do I know I'm doing a good job? Because I was going crazy, guys. I was literally going insane. And I was feeling depressed. I'm like, I don't understand how to adult. I don't get it. I was sad. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just was sad. truly. And then when you add the other aspect of it, which is bridging the gap between environments, God, that was difficult. It was difficult. Okay. Very, 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 very. Because I'm used to a society that has rules, right? When you're in elementary school, you graduate and you go to middle school. When you go to middle school, you have a middle school graduation, you go to high school. When you're in high school, you have a high school graduation, you go to college. When you go to college, you graduate college, and then you go to the workplace, or you do what have you, right? And I felt like because I did not physically walk the stage, right? Or I didn't physically go into the office, I didn't get to bridge that gap of an environment. So it felt like I took my MacBook and exchanged it for a ZBook. And all my coworkers, more like computer screens, computer screens, they were telling me like who they are and where they're from. And this is no shade to them because they are great people. But it's the simple fact that I don't really know them and they don't really know me. I feel like I'm playing a corporate catfishing game. Like, I just tell them a little bit of this about me and a little bit of that. And I can storytell here and they can storytell to me there. And we can say not too much, but just enough. And that's who I am. I can be whoever I want to be. And it's just, that's difficult because before COVID, when you got to the workplace, you dressed like them, you talked like them, you went to lunch with them, you got coffee like them. You mimicked the behavior to adjust to the culture. The same way you do when you go to college, right? You just get poured into the environment and you have to assimilate. You have to get to know it. And I'm not saying like I wasn't given an opportunity or I did not assimilate to the culture because I don't want to assimilate. That's just not me. But I still didn't get an opportunity to understand work culture and corporate culture, especially at my job. I didn't get to have late lunches with people and shadow people and really understand consulting as a whole and what that meant because I had internships beforehand. You get what I mean? And this was very different from all of them. So I felt like everybody expected me to know what I was doing coming in. And I was just like, okay. Okay, yeah, I'm writing that down. Yep, And I just did not know what to do. And of course, I asked questions. I scheduled office hours, but that still did not bridge the gap of the environment that I was going into. It didn't do it well enough. And I'd say my company tried to do its due diligence and have like happy hours for people that were in the office and etc. But just being real, guys, when you look like me, there are a select few people that come up and talk to you at those events. So it's like, okay, you have this really young girl who is now in corporate America who is also looking like me, and everybody who does not look like me is. And I'm trying to network, but it felt like people didn't want to network with me. Put it that way. And it became really difficult. So it was like, I don't have work friends. I don't really have friends because they don't live in Atlanta. And let's just talk about Atlanta, right? So I went from Syracuse, New York to Washington, D.C., to Syracuse, New York, to Washington, D.C. Because I did move back to Washington, D.C., and I lived there a little bit during the pandemic. And we can get into that, but, well, okay, let's get into it. So I stayed there my senior year, a part of my senior year, because, like I said, y'all, Syracuse was very traumatizing for me. It was a lot of childhood trauma that I haven't dealt with, like, I truly needed to go see that lady. I needed to go see that lady stat ASAP. I'm telling you. But I moved back to DC, so I was living there, and I was like, you know what? Bump this degree that I got. I'm gonna move to LA and I'm gonna chase my dreams. My mom called me and she was like, well, actually, like, you could save
15% or more on car insurance.
Paying on rent, and you could just come to Atlanta and live with me. And I know you're really into the arts. Atlanta is like the Black entertainment area, and I think you would really enjoy it. Now, mind you, my mom doesn't talk like that. I just made that up. I'm sorry, because she really doesn't talk like that. But I was like, you know what? Cool. I'll move to Atlanta for the family. I feel like I had a responsibility to do. And for those of you who know me, you know the responsibility that I had to carry. But I moved to Atlanta. I've never been to Atlanta before I moved. I never visited Atlanta. I had no idea if I'd even like Atlanta. I didn't know what type of people lived in Atlanta, what type of restaurant. I couldn't name a neighborhood in Atlanta. Well, that's a story, because going to Howard, where ATL, everywhere. Somebody lives in Gwinnett, somebody lives in Clayco, somebody lives in Decatur, where's Greater, somebody lived in Cobb. I had somebody say they lived in College Park. Yeah, I knew a couple of neighborhoods, but I didn't know where they were. I didn't know the map. So I moved to Atlanta. I knew my mother, my sister, and one friend. That's it. That's all. That's all I knew. And my one friend who I knew, rest in heaven, my sweet friend, he was showing me around Atlanta and taking me to all the coolest spots. I got to see where he graduated from high school wise. And he was just telling me everything he loved about the city and why he loved Atlanta so much and why I was going to love Atlanta, because he refused to not let me like Atlanta. But with him passing away, it really did something to my spirit. And I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to see Atlanta. I didn't want to continue to explore, because I felt like if I wasn't exploring it with my friend, then why was I even doing it? Like, this was literally the only person I knew in Atlanta. And I didn't know who from Howard lived in Atlanta. So it was devastating. I was devastated, honestly. Finding friends that went to Howard and graduated and lived in Atlanta was difficult. And I think it was really difficult because, like I said, I'm from Syracuse, New York. A lot of my friends at Howard were from New York. They were from the city, though. Anyway, it's like, nah. But they were from the city, or they from Texas. I didn't have a lot of ATLian friends. And they were very clicked up. So I didn't know who to tap into, who to talk to, what have you. And it was just difficult making friends and figuring out where to go and who to hang out with and blah, 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 blah. But now I'm here in Atlanta 2 years later in A, or I guess if you want to be technical, a little outside of the A. You know that one song.
Look, if you not from this side and you don't know the facts, just chill and repeat after me. Cali Park, it's not Atlanta. Lithonia, it's not Atlanta. Clayco, it's not Atlanta. Decatur, it's not Atlanta. Gwinnett, it's not Atlanta. Roswell, it's not Atlanta. Fort Park, it's not Atlanta. Lynburn, it's not Atlanta. Look.
Yeah, that's the song I'm talking about. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, 2 years later, I really just wanted to talk about it, because I feel like nobody talks about how difficult it was adjusting to the pandemic, losing that validation and trying to become an adult at work and be in corporate America, if you're in corporate America. And it was just difficult, y'all. And if y'all want to talk, I'm here. Let's start a support group. Okay, I'm with it. I'm with it. But seriously, if you like this video, if you liked hearing me speak, you want to hear me speak about more things, drop a comment down below, connect with me on IG, and we can talk about it. We'll talk about it all day, okay? We're here. That wraps up today's episode of Graduating in a Pandemic. Again, I'm Desire J, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, DJ, drop the music.